You have found the portal into the Laughing Stoic Buddha universe. LSB Podcast with Nick Bibeau.
You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think.
To acquire and arrive at is based on having never left. Yeah. Just chilled out because
Soak in this moment. Trussell, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for making the time. Can we start with some ohms?
Sure.
Okay.
You want to ohm?
With ohm. I mean, it doesn't translate through Zoom all that well, but
Right.
I never have started a podcast with an ohm, but I think this would be if I'm going to do it with anybody, it would be with you. So. One more. I love it, man. Have you ever heard of the idea of dialogos? And
Well,
I'm not going to.
I don't think I have.
Okay,
what is that?
I'm not going to do it justice, but my interpretation of it is dialogos is wisdom through dialogue. I think it comes from ancient Greek philosophy.
Okay.
And I believe that dialogos is one of the coolest.
Excuse me for 1 second.
Of course.
Survey. Can you believe that? Speaking of dialogo, this is the fucking demiurge.
It's trying to break it up. Man.
The next podcast. Go ahead.
It's going, no, don't
No!
don't bring dialogos in there. My understanding of it is wisdom through dialogue, and it's the idea that we can come to a great wisdom internally, right? Sitting, meditating, praying, and I can over here, Duncan can over there, but there's a different kind of wisdom that comes through dialogue, through connection, through conversation.
Cool.
Yeah, and dialogos is the spirit of the X factor, right? So the sum is bigger and greater than the sum of its parts, right?
Yes.
So I would like to start, if you're willing, with a little prayer, a little intention, a little spell to cast.
Okay.
To invite the spirit of dialogos into this conversation, to spread its wisdom out there to the world.
Okay.
So I didn't plan anything. I'm gonna improv this, but spirit of dialogos, can you please join this conversation and allow for our individual small egoic identities to move aside for a moment, and for us to be conduits for your spirit and wisdom to come through, to express love, to express freedom and acceptance and wisdom, and for it to spread out and infect everyone that happens to stumble upon.
Infect.
I mean,
what are you summoning the coronavirus? What's going on over there, Nick? Infect. There's got to be a better word. Infect.
Oh, okay. Better
May
word.
you be as virulent as any Dios logos for you. You know what? It's going to be really annoying as we found out that Dios Logos was trying to call.
It probably was.
Okay.
If you would have answered, maybe it would have given you the secret of the universe. Let's see. Next time. So I like to say that the podcast sort of has a intelligence of its own.
Yes.
And I don't know if I've introduced myself. My name's Nick Bibeau. I like to take Nick and put him in the corner for the podcast, his little ideas of what it should be. And I like to let the spirit of the podcast come through and bring what it wants to bring and what it wants to share. So, you down with that? Amen.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let's do it. Okay, man. I'm gonna do. I don't want to do a lot of the talking. I want you to do a lot of the talking, but I do have to say, to set the stage here, I have been listening to you for 9 years.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It has been a beacon of light, a beacon of hope, like I briefly mentioned before we started recording. In my darkest times, in my dark night of the soul, when it seemed like there was no friends out there for me, there was no hope, I could always put you on. Another guy that has been through podcasts that has helped me through this is Pete Holmes. I know you're buddies with him.
Sure.
I love your guys' conversations.
Thanks.
And you too have, I mean, I've listened to plenty of people and people come in and out, but you two for really the last 9 years have been just my go-tos. And when I first started listening, I didn't really have any friends. I had people I knew. I grew up with some friends, but I remember hearing you talk with people and going, "Oh, that is what a friendship is. That's two people that can bare their souls in a way that can not worry about judgment." I mean, there's teasing, there's fun, but there's a certain level of opening up your heart and opening up to who you are. And then again, bringing back the spirit of dialogos. You can sit here and think, well, I'm this and I'm that. You can journal it out, but you don't really know yourself until you talk to somebody that can really see you. And you showed an example to me of showing yourself to somebody and discovering kind of who you are, who your little unique expression is in this incarnation with somebody else. And I can say, luckily enough, I had sort of a shift about 5 years ago, and I started finding my own Pete Holmeses and my own Joe Rogans and my own, Daniele Bellellis and that I hear you connecting with. And this is just a cool, monumental day for me that I'm finally connecting with one of those guys that set that example for me.
Well, thank you. That's so cool.
Yeah, right on, man. So this is like I don't know, what's the name of that organization? Make-A-Wish Foundation. Somebody is on there.
Let's hope not. You seem young, healthy.
Well, yes, but that is something we're going to talk about because the night that I saw you in San Francisco, your last show, I faced my mortality in a way that night that it could have all been over, and I couldn't have had this opportunity today to actually connect with you.
God, what happened? Tell me again.
I mentioned it briefly in the email. I don't know if you remember, but
I do.
Okay, cool. So I'll tell the story. I told it once on a podcast, but I got to tell it to you because it's integrally tied into this coming into fruition. So I went and saw you in San Francisco. It was the first time I seen you live. Your show is amazing, man.
Thank you.
You're live. I mean, I've connected with you through the podcast, obviously through Midnight Gospel, which is one of my, and I'm not saying this because you're here. I've said this on the podcast to other people. One of my favorite pieces of art in the history of the world.
Thank you so much. Jesus. Wow. Thanks. Well, there was a lot of people involved in it.
Yeah, of course. And thank you.
An infinitesimally small part of it compared to the geniuses in that world of animation. Jesse Moynihan, Pendleton Ward. My God, these are the true wizards. These are like actual living wizards. And I got to hang out with them for a little bit.
Yeah, man. And we live in a time where all that can come together and express in this incredible moving piece of art. I used to say that, like, you could pause any second of that show and it's a beautiful work of art, and the fact that it was 20 minutes of that, just beautiful art, amazing wisdom, by yours truly and everybody else that joined onto the podcast, or onto the episodes and all that. So first time I got to see you live, do your thing, your stand-up comedy, I laughed to tears. I got an ab workout. It was freaking amazing to see that. Yes. And I don't know if you remember, I was standing in line with my very good buddy, Alonzo Nunez. Did a podcast with him last night He's kind of the co-producer of this. I did my very first podcast with him 5 years ago.
Wow.
When I had this dream of doing this, of podcasting, because I heard you guys doing it. And I go, oh, this is like what I've been looking for my whole life. I didn't know this was an art form, and I really do believe podcasting is an art form. And it's, something about that X factor that emerges when two people connect and have a really good conversation. And like every art form, there's a lot of bad art out there, but there's the opportunity for some really magical art and a really good podcast conversation. So I started podcasting with him 5 years ago. This is, I believe, my 40th episode here today.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. I've had a few year breaks. It's been a lot of chances to give up on this, and I've just, in my soul, it won't let me let go of it. I keep coming back to it. And today is a really good testament to not giving up on it. So I go with my good buddy. We go to see you, and we were standing in line, Cobb's Comedy in San Francisco. Before the show, somebody was yelling up at one of the windows, and I heard your voice. I heard that distinct Duncan Trussell, hey man, voice. And we finished the show. We had a few beers, 2 drink minimum, so we were 2 drinks in, and we go to leave afterwards, just pumped up. We just see Duncan Trussell live. It was amazing. You did your demonic
Will Hobo.
It's fucking amazing. We're crying in tears and laughing, and we're going outside, and we're going to get a burger. My buddy looks at me and he goes, dude, I'm going to get you to talk to Duncan Trussell. And I go, okay, like, sure, good luck. This is 1 week after my 33rd birthday. He said, for your birthday present, man, I'm going to get you to talk to Duncan Trussell. And I'm kind of like, okay, sure. Okay, good luck. And he goes over because he's seen you talking to somebody out that window. So I'm 5'7.5", and I'm white. I can't jump. So there's no chance I'm going to reach that window. My buddy is 6 foot. He's pretty athletic. So he runs over there. He jumps up and taps the window. And we kind of sit and wait. And
I remember.
Right on. Cool. And I go, come on, man, let's go get a burger. I appreciate it. It's a nice thought. And he goes, no. He jumps. I think he hit it about 2 more times. And the window opens up. And there you are, Duncan Trussell, my hero. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, oh shit, this is my chance. And I said something along the lines of, Duncan, I love you. You helped to save my soul. And I said, it's on my vision board to podcast with you.
And I had no choice. The laws demand that if you are on someone's vision board and they want you to, you have to do it. No, in the Constitution.
A lot of people out there are probably going to be throwing you on their vision board now. I got to say, I have a long, complicated relationship with vision boards, and
really? I think we
the
all
the law of attraction.
I want to unattract this fucking fly. Get out of here! He's been bothering me for years. No!
I see him land right on your third eye. Actually, I think he's trying to get
here from North Carolina with us. Yeah. He's actually my pet fly. It's just very annoying. Sometimes I haven't fed him.
He followed you, huh? All the way from.
Well, I mean, we transported him.
Nice. I see he did land right on your third eye. I think he's trying to soak in some of that good stuff.
No, that's not it at all. I I don't know if you've ever eaten ice cream like a toddler, but I highly recommend it. You just shove your face. Shove your face into the bowl, so you fully feel the ice cream all over your face. And so, there, just relax on the light, calm down.
He wants to get in the talk, man.
Watch this. I've trained him. Fly. Isn't that cool?
That is cool. Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Can you do any other tricks?
Yeah, you can roll over.
Oh, nice. This makes me. Bruce Lee's big in my life. Apparently, Bruce Lee used to be able to catch flies with chopsticks, and they'd live and let go. So maybe another trick to consider.
Amazing.
Maybe practice on flies that aren't your pets first, because you may smash a few.
Would you get new chopsticks if you were able to do that? Like, wouldn't you like find yourself in an interesting predicament? Let's say you're at a restaurant and there's a fly and you have chopsticks, you're on a date,
Mhm.
you want to impress, and you can snatch that fly with the chopsticks, but you're going to have to get a new set of chopsticks, which is
You are.
annoying.
That's why you keep your fly chopsticks in your pocket at all
Oh,
times.
but then your date's gonna be like, what the fuck?
He just had chopsticks
Got
in his
like a
pocket.
chopstick holster? It's gonna be they're gonna be unraveling that through the whole dinner. Like, how many flies
Red flag.
a person contend with? That they have to have a cowboy holster for chopsticks. But you're also gonna be like, whoa, they're fast. So you're sort of weighing those two, like, shit, they're around a lot of flies, but they're very fast.
Yeah, and it's a unique, a unique skill set. Some chicks are into that, so something to consider. Okay, where were we at? We were, I'm telling you, you're on my vision board. We can get into vision boards, actually, maybe at some point. Like I said, long, complicated history. I did my first vision board in about 10 years this year, and I put podcasting with you on there. I have 4 individuals, yourself, Pete Holmes, Lex Friedman, who you talked with recently. He's on the list too, and Joe Rogan, of course.
See, what you could have done instead of saying Joe Rogan is if you could have been like Adolf Hitler, and then I'd be like, fuck, I'm never doing this again. You know what I mean? Like you had 3, you got me, then follow it with some monster Jeffrey Dahmer, I don't know, I'm like Mussolini, and it's like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Nazi. But that's cool.
How you find.
1 down, 3 to go.
Yes, sir. So I yelled out to you. You said, "Hey man, let's make it happen." And it's a little 30-minute conversation or so. So I walk away from there. We go to Sam's Burgers, a few blocks away, get some burgers, and I'm high as a kite. I just talked to Duncan Trussell. Maybe it's really gonna happen. We're sitting there. Is it gonna happen? Who knows? My buddy's going, send him an email and tell him to come have a burger with us. And I'm like, I'm sure he's pretty busy, right now. Yeah. So we finish up that night. I drive across the bay to Oakland. This is where I live here in Oakland. I don't know how well you know Oakland. But at 2 a.m, Oakland can be kind of a dangerous place. I park my car at a little facility where it's tucked away so that it's not exposed to the elements. I don't know if you've heard of Bay Area snow, but it's broken glass. You walk outside, you're going to see broken glass all over the place because.
Wow. Now I'm understanding why it's so expensive to live out there.
Yeah, exactly.
It was always a mystery to me, but now I get it, because Jesus Christ, just free broken glass everywhere. Like,
that's what I'm saying, man.
You're telling me that you can just walk around and just find broken glass anywhere you want?
I could walk out today and have more than your heart desires.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It might even come from your own car.
A lot of people are really dismal right now and a little cynical when it comes to where America is as a country. But when you tell me there are still cities where there's free broken glass, it fills me with such joy to know that's the truth. That's what the mainstream media doesn't want you to know.
Exactly.
Free broken glass in Oakland.
Yes. Yeah. Unlimited supply. So I park my car and I have a 4-block walk to my house.
Okay.
I've walked this over a year straight. And I used to brag, which I eat my words now, that I haven't had so much as a dirty look from anybody. People say, "Oh, it's so dangerous," and this and that. And I haven't had any negative encounters up to this point. Nothing. But this is also my first time walking the streets at 2 a.m. There's a lot of bars on the street, and there's normally people out, security guards, stuff like that. Everything's closed. And I'm walking home, and I'm texting with my buddy, and he's saying, "Hey, dude, you get home safe?" I said, "Yeah, I'm parked. I'm almost home. Thanks for tonight, man. It was so cool. Hey, we're gonna podcast with Duncan Trussell, man." I'm like, maybe we'll see. I'm very excited, and 30 seconds after I send my last text to him, I am half a block from my house. I see three guys coming around the corner. I see three guys come around, and they look at me, and I go, shit. I got a bad feeling in my stomach. There's nowhere to go. I can't turn around.
I'm just going to tell you, I don't want you to be mad at me. You know, I have a vision board, right?
I think I know where you're going with this.
I carry vision boards around to my shows. So I get back to the hotel room after I felt your vibe. I know you're a cool guy. So I get back to the hotel room. I look at the vision board because I put something on it after I met you. And what I wanted to put on the vision board was, I hope three guys hug him.
Oh, you were so close. You were so close.
Yeah.
You got to be very specific with vision boards, man, because the universe takes it and twists it.
It's like, well, yeah, but I use like cutout letters from magazines.
Okay.
See, and like, I guess I got the H and the M mixed up, and I have my assistant. You know, anytime I go on the road, my assistant has to cut out like 50
every letter
from alphabet 50, because I put a lot of shit on my vision board. But yeah, I'm so sorry, man. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention, and I should have. I think I know what you're about to say happened.
I appreciate the effort. It's very thoughtful. So they walk across the street. The one guy comes right up to me and reaches into his coat, pulls out a gun, a Glock, and points it right in my face. It's the first time I looked down the barrel of a gun, and he says, "Empty your pockets, give me your shit." And I didn't have much on me. I had my wallet, my keys to my place, my keys to my car, and my phone. And I sort of freeze. I go, "Hey, everything's cool. I'm going to give it to you." I reach into my pockets, and as I reach into my pockets, one of the other three guys, I was focused on the guy with the gun, comes around from behind me and bear hugs me. So yeah. So I got the hug. I just realized. You said you said you wanted on your vision board for me to get a hug. I got a bear hug.
This is why. Cause like as quickly as I could, I was like, "Fuck, no, not my hug." I put a hug in, but clearly this probably right as I was putting the H in, this was happening. Would be my guess.
Probably. So you just got in there just in time. So I got my hug.
Fucking bear hugs you from behind.
Yes. And picks me up. As I mentioned, this is very scary. As I mentioned, I'm a small guy, so he picked me up pretty easy. And the guy with the gun reaches in my pocket, grabs all my stuff, all my pockets, and
takes your keys.
Takes my keys, takes my wallet.
I mean, like, he's obviously an asshole.
Yeah, well, it gets worse.
Oh no.
Yeah, if they would have put me down after that, it'd have been a decent night. You know, wouldn't have.
Nobody's like, "I put me down." Would have been a bad mugging.
Yeah,
but he put me down. He didn't keep carrying me around through Oakland like a lot of those muggers are doing these days.
Just kicking and screaming.
So he puts you down.
He does not put me down yet. I'm still up in the air. And he takes everything out of my pockets. And the guy sees that I have a car key, a Honda car key. And he says, "Where's your car?" He takes the gun, and the handle of the gun hits me. Boom. My glasses go flying off.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, of course. This whole thing is kind of unnecessary, but yeah. Hits me, and my glasses go falling off. I get the buzz, I'm seeing stars. I hear the ears ringing, and I, sort of recenter myself. I'm still being held, and he says, "Where's your car?" And I said, "It's a ways away from here. It's 4 blocks away." And he hits me again on the other side. Boom. So I'm kind of felt like getting crucified because I couldn't even put my hands up to cover my face, because he's holding my hands down, and I'm just eating the handle of the gun, right, left. I
You're
should have
being
started.
pistol whipped.
I'm getting pistol whipped. Yes, first time.
Fuck.
Yeah, yeah,
First time.
first time. Yeah.
Never
So
forget your first Oakland pistol whipping.
no shit. Hoping it's the only one. I've taken more precautions since then. So I eat the handle of the gun twice, and I pretty dazed at this point, out of it. And he's saying, where the fuck is your car? And I'm trying to sort of calm myself and explain to him, it's 4 blocks away from here and it's locked away. And I said, you're not going to be able to get it. And that pissed him off. So he hit me again.
Who would have thought this guy has anger issues? You know, sometimes you never know about people who are pistol whipping you. Some you know, like you just don't expect it, but suddenly they get angry. You're like, oh fuck, I should have known.
Yeah, should have seen the signs.
Well, he's probably having a bad day.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was. So he, after the second or third hit, I think it was the second hit, he pointed the barrel again right in my face. And that was the moment, and time slows down, and you know, in the retelling of things, you never quite are able to capture the whole feeling. But when I was looking at the barrel of the gun that time, I could see his frustration. And I could see sort of in my mind, I go, he might shoot you, like just out of just anger, just
Right.
out of
Nobody's around. He
yes.
wants to impress his friends. He's fucking pissed. People are like that, you know. He's got shitty friends. They're like, you don't have the guts to do it. Like in his head, he's like, all these like demons are just telling him, like, this is what you do. How dare this guy lock his car away? It's fucking
Making it inconvenient on him. So the second time I was looking down the barrel of the gun, again, I had, for the first time in my life, I was truly facing my mortality.
Yes.
It's something that I think about every day. So the name of this podcast, I should have told you at the beginning, it's LSB, which stands for Laughing Stoic Buddha.
Okay,
and
cool.
Yeah, so Stoicism is big in my life, particularly recently, and Buddhism has always been big.
That's what you should have said to him.
Do you think so?
He was holding the, listen, hey, you should have invited him on your podcast. Listen, I'm inside. I've never interviewed somebody who pistol whipped me before. I would love to know how you ended up here.
Yeah.
Because I know how I got here, but how the fuck do you become so karmically fucked up? You are pistol whipping strangers for their cars in the land of glass. Crazy.
You know, I'm gonna just throw this out here. I don't know his name, but if you are listening to this podcast, send me an email. Maybe we can get together and have a conversation.
Why didn't you give him your address?
He probably knows it. Not anymore. I've moved since, but
Right.
Got all the locks changed. It's funny. I have actually had a few conversations with him. I'll get into that. I about less than a week later did a high dose mushroom trip and had a very good conversation with the dude. What
did he say?
He didn't say much.
Bad. He's like, fucking asshole. Why'd you park your fucking car so far away? I needed to go to 7-11.
He can't even get it through the mushroom dimension. We'll get into that. The mushroom trip, when I was talking to him, and this is gonna sound, I know, I'm sorry, and most people don't believe me. You don't have to believe me. I reached a point of forgiveness and acceptance with him. I know it kind of sounds like bullshit, but I really did. And I seen how sad it was to end up at that point, like you said, to have to carry that kind of karma, the lack of love and support and compassion he probably had in his life that led him to that point of.
Let me ask you this. Let's imagine I had the ability to like commune with that person's consciousness. And I told you, actually, he's really a happy dude. He's doing great. He, he went to Stanford. It's kind of like an art experiment thing. He's,
The fun of it.
just one of the things he likes to do, pistol whip people. He didn't even want your car. That's just part of the thing. Would you still forgive him? Like if you hadn't imagined
Yeah.
a troubled person, but if like you knew, no, actually he's fine. He's having a great day right now. He doesn't even like you're one of many successful pistol whippings, like he's slightly
Added to the list.
added to the list. Would you still be able to forgive him?
Man, I would. He'd be a much more interesting person. I'd really have to have him on the podcast if that was the case, because I mean that's a whole new level. That's a unique, way to live this life.
I mean, I think if I'm if you had to like roll the dice, I'm guessing this isn't the happiest person on earth.
Yeah.
Like if this is part of like the way you function in the world, like any of that makes sense to you. Like you haven't even come close to thinking like, maybe I should only hit him once instead of 3 times. You know what I mean? Like, you haven't even toned down. We don't know. We don't know. Maybe he's working on it. Maybe like other people in the past, it's like 6 to the face. And then
he's getting better.
Psychologist is like, try 3 and work your way down the line.
You see the psychologist.
Don't need to use the pistol at all. But it's interesting, right? To imagine that there are people out there who we want to put on them the mask of suffering. We want to put on them like some explanation that can like allow wherever our compassion levels are at to like work on them. But no.
Just for fun.
They're just happy as can be. Maybe happier than us. Just fully actualized beings that are simultaneously monsters. I mean, I don't want to imagine that these people exist, but I watch a lot of Dateline, watch a lot of Forensic Files. Some of these people, they don't give a shit. You ever and that's where it gets interesting to me, just because it's like, what's the price of your compassion? You know what I mean? If I'm going to be compassionate, I need that person to be like, oh my God, he was from foster care, sexually abused. Then he was like horrible life, just concussed. He has brain injuries and his friends suck. He's addicted to heroin. Somewhere in there, it's like, all right. I mean, I don't enjoy being pistol whipped, but I forgive you. You know what I mean? But that's, somewhere down the line, it's like at some point you're like, fuck you, motherfucker. I don't have forgiveness for you, but I'm glad that you did, because, obviously, like, what are you gonna count on Monte Cristo, this guy? You're gonna find out who he is, hunt him down, get a private detective, marry his daughter.
The long game. Yeah. Well,
he's finally an old man on oxygen.
That's the long game.
You know what I mean? His grandkids playing in the other room. You go and you unplug that fucking oxygen and just whisper in his ear, "Where's your car? Where's your car?" He's like, "I don't remember anything." Who are you? No, yeah. Well, so yes, what's the option but to forgive? I mean, truly, it's like otherwise he's still pistol whipping you every fucking day.
No shit, exactly. It's speaking of stoicism, it makes me think of Marcus Aurelius. He says, "The greatest revenge is to not be like them," and it does sound a little self-righteous or whatever, but to me, it's from a personal, subjective place. Are you going to continue to meet hatred with hatred? Are you going to continue to meet violence with violence? Gandhi.
How can it work?
Yeah, it can't.
Like we're talking about a terrible situation, which is that if we subscribe to the idea, which I think is your idea, that anybody who's engaging in aggressive behavior, it's rooted in some suffering, some kind of fear, some kind of ignorance, which means that to meet aggression with aggression, it only like makes them suffer more. It gives them reason to be more afraid.
Exactly.
Meaning that it would fuel, it's like pouring gas in the gas tank of their aggression vehicle. But it doesn't, I don't think, I think Marcus Aurelius is, I mean, I get it. It's like, oh, you've got to alchemize that situation, right? I mean, I have a feeling you're not going to have a lot of trouble not becoming a mugger.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think you, I don't, I think most people who are mugged when they're like the next week aren't thinking to themselves, maybe that's a pretty cool job.
That worked out all right for him.
Oh, boss.
Yeah. Get to be your own boss. Yes.
I have to pay taxes. But yeah, the trick is to really, like, I guess if we're going to look at what Marcus Aurelius said, it's like, okay, fine. No shit, dumbass. I know you're not going to become a fucking mugger. Stop reading my incredible writing. It's not meant for idiots like you.
Yeah.
I think Marcus Aurelius would be like, no, but there's some kind of mugger living inside you. I mean,
Exactly.
not all muggings have pistol whippings involved. Some muggings are like you're mugging somebody for some kind of compliment.
Yeah, their time, their attention.
You're mugging yourself. Maybe, you're trying to like use aggression to get you better or something, so yeah, it's like from the study and like by, what do they say? In small things, all things, by as above, so below, by like looking down the barrel of a gun and being in the focal point of all of that violence. You now understand why there's war. You now understand you have a deeper understanding of all the many terrible outcomes of people succumbing to their aggression. And so from that, you could use that to work on yourself, to refine
Absolutely.
yourself.
And right away, I mean, that same night, and for sure since, I've said they gave me a great gift by going through this experience. I wouldn't have chose it ahead of time. I wouldn't choose it for anybody else that anyone in the world, anyone that I care about or love. But they gave me a great gift. And that moment of looking down the barrel of the gun, as I was saying, I meditate. I'm a little bit of a weirdo. I meditate on my mortality basically every day. It's funny. I have a podcast a few back where I was talking to Richard Lang. Have you ever heard of the Headless Way?
No.
Okay, we're going to have to get into that because I think you'll love it. And I've wanted to talk to you about the Headless Way. It's top of my list for a very long time. So I was talking to Richard Lang, and I started bringing up how I meditate on my mortality. And he was kind of like, that's sort of strange. You're a little young to be doing that. And the reason I do it isn't from a morbid place. That's sort of the cliche most people go to. But I run everything through the filter of when I am on my deathbed, when I am looking down the barrel of the gun. I don't know when that's going to come. But when it does come, I want to live the kind of life where I feel okay in that moment, where I feel at peace, just as a North Star, as a guiding principle to live my life by, and this is in Buddhism, they talk about, all meditation, all work is practice for death. Life is about learning how to die a good death. And people go, that's so strange. Why are you going to live your whole life preparing for this one moment of death? But it's a good compass. It's a good North Star when you run things through that filter of when the time comes, are you going to be at peace?
Oh, also though, I think like Richard Lang should not have asked you why, if you're young for that. I mean, I think that is Richard Lang needs to like look at just basic statistics out there. It's like everyone's got this deathbed fantasy that they're gonna make it to their lifespan. Like, come on. I mean, that's the funniest thing ever, because like how the number of years you have, you keep them in an imaginary bank account, and
Yeah.
you imagine when you're young that you're like just loaded. You just
Yeah, yeah.
imagine
More than you
so
can
you
spend
act like a fucking like a rich asshole if you think that you like
with
this
your
so
time.
different
Yes.
with time.
Mhm.
And this, I think in Buddhism, the invitation to carry death on your shoulder, to continually remind yourself of your own impending uh, demise, even though it could come across as incredibly negative, is actually is trying to get you to recognize how precious it is to be alive right now, not to
Yes.
like be all morbid and put on fucking black turtleneck and watch The Crow or something like that. But it's more along the lines of like, no one, uh, you, it's an old cliche, like when you hear it again and again, like people when they actually find out how many years they have in their temporal bank account, they transform. Some of them don't, but a lot of times there's a transformation that happens. They make amends, they get real, they stop with the bullshit. But what sucks about that is it's like generally that's a result of some disease, and they're sick, their bodies are failing, their minds are failing. That's the other thing, the deathbed fantasy. It's like, if you've ever been around dying people, you watch it in the movies, they look great.
Yeah, they still got all their faculties. They're thinking great. They're speaking clearly.
I watch people dying in movies and then go like to use the bathroom and look in the mirror. I'm like, fuck, they look better than I do. They're like, they got rosy cheeks. They look like they just did yoga or some shit. And then they have this like wonder. They just close their eyes. Like, nobody dies like that. Generally, you're bewildered, confused, sick, scared, cycling through time. You think you're a kid. You think you're with your mom. You think all these things are happening. So
You're in the Bardos.
you're in the bar. You're getting ready for sure to get into the bardo, but yeah, your faculties are shutting down. You're going through the process, and so, I think maybe Richard Lang misunderstood you, and or thought it was something more morbid than it was, or something. When the reality is like, no, every single day, remind yourself that you are impermanent, that death is certain, that you don't know when it will come, that you don't know that you'll even get another day. And then you base your actions on that as much as you can. I mean, as much as you can, And for that's really quite, for me, it's more of an invitation to life. And
Yes, exactly. Well, I always say that it's life affirming. It's the opposite of morbid, to meditate on the fact that this is impermanent. We don't know when the end's going to come. Like you said, you don't know that you're going to get another day. You don't know that you're going to get another moment. Like,
well, you don't know that you don't know that you weren't shot.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. This actually would make a lot more sense, because if I was, and then I'm in some sort of like astral in between plane, then I would end up podcasting with Duncan Trussell.
Well, wait, where am I? Oh no!
No, you just exist in my astral projection.
No, you're in my astral projection, motherfucker. Where's your car?
I'm still going through it right now.
Yeah, that's another wonderful contemplation, is sort of the dreaminess of waking life itself, and sort of it all wraps into the same essential truths, which is we're in process. That comes up in Buddhism a lot, that it's like we are, because of our sense faculties, we see time in a certain way. We everything seems quite stable to some degree. You don't see the erosion happening on your house or on your body, or so that's how you get old, is like suddenly you're looking in the mirror like, my God, look at those fucking wrinkles. You didn't see the wrinkles grow. If you saw the wrinkles growing, then you might like stop fixating on this tiny little shit, because you realize, oh my God, I'm melting. And then that could potentially produce another way of living, right? And The contemplation of death is a
Yeah,
very
and time. I love you talking about time, because that's one of the big um, changes in my perspective on life itself. Is we take time as a constant, as you were kind of saying. Like, we believe that time is this measurable thing. It's the same for everybody else. And I think through meditation, through psychedelics, through transcendent experiences, you start to go, oh, there is a quote place outside of time, and time is an ingredient within this dream, within the dreaming that we're
yes.
doing. Yeah, but it's just an ingredient. It's not a constant. It's a somewhat, it's an undeniable reality for Duncan, for Nick, for these meat suits, right? To that time is going to have its effect. But I believe that where we truly exist is outside of time, and the dreaming that we're doing, this life, this experience, has that huge ingredient of time in it. And something about meditating on death. When I say meditate on death, I can meditate from the story perspective. Nick has this story of the last 33 years. Maybe he's got another 33 or 90 ahead of him, who knows? And you can see time sort of on that channel, on the channel of life.
You think
But what
gods are just people when they were like about, sorry to cut you off, when they're about to reincarnate in whatever like weird new age restaurant, like, can you take it easy on the time, please?
Can you just turn the time down? Just
Maybe not, just don't, I don't like time in my incarnation. Can we like just
yeah, real light on the time.
cutting back on time, if you don't mind? It causes death. Can we reduce?
It causes death.
Humans are just people who like salt their fries too much. Put a lot of fucking time in that incarnation, please. I want to be subjected to the forces of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
So there. No, it's all good. So there's time from since this is the laughing Stoic Buddha, there's time from the Stoic perspective of this life, of this story, that it's finite. I've been reading Seneca's on the shortness of life, and I've felt that ingredient in a new way, particularly on psychedelics, particularly in meditation, where I feel time as this force in this experience, in this reality.
Right.
Also, there is the timeless, and meditating on death from the timeless place. I'm sure you're familiar with Ramana Maharshi.
Sure.
Yeah. He's my go-to. He's my disembodied guru. I've heard you. I learned that term from you. You said Maharaji's your disembodied guru, and I took that from you, and I try to give you credit whenever I can. Ramana, when I look at he's disembodied, obviously, but when I look at his pictures, he communicates stuff to me. I get downloads, and his whole deal was the self-inquiry, right? Who am I? Or who? Yes. And he came to his realization on, he felt this existential dread, I think at a young age, like maybe 17, 18, became convinced that he was going to die. And he went through the 7 levels of, of death and, rejection and
the 7 stages of grief.
There it is, 7 stages of grief. And he ended up at acceptance. So he went and laid down.
Stage. Did you know that? They just added this stage.
What, is there an 8th stage?
Yeah, the 8th stage is just like looking at TikTok when you're shitting.
I think we're all at that stage.
I know.
We got to bring Ramana back and have him in the TikTok generation. See how's your self-inquiry working now with TikTok?
I can't get out of the TikTok stage to get to the next one. It won't let me leave.
So Ramana, this is back in the 1920s. He laid down and he said, okay, I've accepted that I'm going to die. Let me find who it is that's going to die. I know I am, but I'm taking I as sort of as a given. Who is it that's going to die? And if you really do that, if you lay down in your own bed and say, okay, let's say I was going to die. I do this every day. Let's say I'm going to die in 10 seconds. Can I find that which is going to die? And I've never been able to find it.
Well, that's how you end up in your own subjective ghost hunter show. You're like basically like the weirdos in a house. Like,
did you hear that?
Show yourself.
Yeah. So it's never shown itself to me. So the first time that I really became clear, kind of there's nobody home. right? There is this force that's dreaming this reality, but Nick, the little story is going to end, is going to die, but that's sort of a story. What's really going to die?
Yeah.
What really is here? And I tend to find this immense peace every day when I do that. There's nobody home, so that's the gift of real good transcendent spirituality. Is you're already free. Everything else is a story. It doesn't mean that there's not work to be done. Doesn't mean that you don't have responsibilities to do. But there's nobody home. You were never born, and you're never going to die from that timeless place.
Well, this is the Bhagavad Gita verse. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor any of these kings, nor any of us in the future shall ever cease to be. Now that is a really wild thing to say. You were never born, you're never going to die, unborn, undying, primordial. But yeah, I'm glad you said the thing, but you still got to know your social security number.
Yeah, exactly.
And, but because in Buddhism, this is I like how this shows up as absolute reality and relative reality I've heard the term in Vaishnava Bhakti Yoga, and I mispronounce it. I'm so lazy. I won't even look up. How do you even pronounce it?
I can't pronounce it either. Don't worry.
Just think of Beta Tattva, which means simultaneous oneness and difference.
Yeah.
So, what seems to be going on here is these two ways of seeing the world. One of them, as you're describing, the transcendent vision, the non-attached, non-dual realization. The other one, and the most extreme version of that, you have eternalism, is what it's called, and the opposite of eternalism is nihilism. So we're right there in the middle, actually, between the nothingness and the everythingness. That's where we're hanging out, heaven and earth, we're joining heaven and earth, right? So this is for me, this is where I can get really out of balance, because for me, the transcendent is quite attractive. I mean, why wouldn't it be? Yeah. When you catch a glimpse of that thing you're talking about, I mean, it's a big relief. My God, if you've been all wrapped up in your body and all the terrors that go along with that, and you just catch a fleeting glimpse of this other thing, glimpse people like Ramana Maharshi. How do you say his last name?
Mahana Maharshi.
Maharshi.
Ramana Maharshi, sorry.
Ramana, whatever.
Yeah,
call him Gale. Doesn't matter. Though I don't know if he would have been as popular if his name was Gale.
Probably not. It doesn't.
Probably not. Nobody. No one's like, are you familiar with Gale? Well,
not good branding, no.
No. Gale was really scared of death, went through these stages of grief. This was before they added TikTok, came to an understanding that there's nothing that can really die. And but yeah, when you catch that glimpse, even a little glimpse of it, and I think this is why they are using psilocybin to help people who are close to death. It's like trainer wheels for death, or training wheels for death. You could potentially catch that glimpse, maybe. And I think that's a big maybe in italics. But if you do catch it, then there's some relief associated with it. But if I'm not careful, I'll veer off all the way.
Yeah.
And
it is a danger.
Yeah, it's an imbalance, so it's also this Israel. Someone did pistol whip you.
And it hurt.
And you can hurt people. And people, as limited and temporary, transient little wafts of sentient meat mist as we may be, we're still hanging out with each other. And, but I think that catching, most of us, we start off with we don't even question that thing, the glimpse it's just like, yeah, I'm everything. I don't even know what I am. I don't have a name. I'm not even thinking language. Like people think in language and take that for granted. Like you'll
Exactly.
sit and listen to the English language in your thought stream.
You think
There was a
that's the
time when
baseline of reality. Yeah.
you didn't even have the English language when you were a baby. You were hearing God knows what babies think, or if they do, or how they do it. Point being, this is the sort of ground of a human life. And then crystallization into an identity. That's where you end up like, you know what? I think it's a pistol whipping night. I'm gonna call Gary. He's fun to pistol whip with. And
Yep.
then, and then that's where you end up in that. And then the more you believe that that's all there is, nihilism, the more potential harm you are going to cause yourself and people around you. And so I guess what I'm saying is the glimpse is great because then comes some compassion, I think, is a byproduct or the product of that realization, right? Because
Absolutely.
if you see people super into pistol whipping, you realize like they would definitely not be doing that if they had read Gale.
Yeah.
If they had
Get that bigger perspective.
Gale, they wouldn't. I think it's almost an immediate response to a glimpse of what you're talking about.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. I feel the spirit of dialogos. Sometimes you shouldn't talk about it, but I feel it coming through. You're familiar with the term satsang, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just took us through a satsang, through a gathering in truth. I felt from the transcendent all the way down to here today on the streets of Oakland getting pistol whipped, here today in the body. That was a very nice journey you just sent us on, Duncan. Thank you. It's one of the favorite things that you do, man. It's the stream of consciousness where it just comes through. And I couldn't summarize it, but I felt it in my heart. It was very beautiful. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, it makes me think of a few things. So we still are telling the story. At this point, I'm still being held, and I ate a couple of pistol whips from the handle of a gun. So we could get back to that. I want to do one more quick thing. I have to mention my embodied guru, guy who's still around. He's sort of my Ram Dass because I got to meet him in this lifetime. His name's Paul Hederman. He comes up in every podcast. If you're playing the drinking game, take your shot now.
Paul Hederman.
Paul Hederman.
Paul Hederman. Paul Hederman. Paul Hederman.
You're gonna kill him. You're gonna kill him.
Paul Hederman.
Okay, Paul well, Hederman. If anyone's really,
I'm sorry. Who is Paul Hederman?
He's my guru. I'm wearing
his name again.
Paul Hederman. ZenBitchSlap.com is his where you can find him.
That's interesting. He didn't get PaulHederman.com.
Yeah, it is, right? Zen Bitch Slap, which he got it about 10 years ago, and the way that the culture has been shifting and everything, people have a lot of problems with bitch slap in the name. But he's sticking with it. I could get into him. We could do an entire long podcast conversation on him. I think you'd love him. He's on my Paul Hederman. You're playing the game. You're trying to give some people alcohol poisoning, aren't you? What's really funny, actually, is one of his big deals is AA recovery. He hasn't had a drink in 35 years.
Paul Hederman has not had a drink in 35 years.
He's not. No, that's what he says. That's what he claims. So he's my guru, and he would laugh if I said that to him. Yeah, I'm nobody's guru, but I came across him about 4 years ago, and he's really changed my life on a physical meat suit level. Completely redirected everything in my life. I don't have a great relationship with my father, my biological father, and he sort of has become like a spiritual father to me. I've called him a few times in crisis. I divorced a few years back, and when I sort of knew that it was undeniable that I had to leave my ex, he was the first person I called, and he walked me through it. And I go to his songs. He has them every Saturday. He does stuff on Zoom. Anyway, we could get deeply into his philosophy. He's on my list of people I want to see you talk to. I have
Great.
a good,
I'll look him up.
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Paul Hederman, zenbitchslap.com. And please stop taking shots if anybody is at this point.
I'm gonna write that down right now.
All right, I can email it to you.
Let me write it down just so I don't lose it.
Yeah.
Hold on. Sorry, listeners.
No, please.
Quick, Paul.
This is a dream come true, dude. You are writing down my guru, Paul Hederman's name, and you're gonna look him up. I'm gonna send you some stuff.
Is it Paul Hederman 2 D's or 1 D?
2 D's.
Paul Hederman with 2 D's. Paul
Yes. Or you can write down Zen Bitch Slap. That's a little easier to remember.
Zen Bitch Slap, Paul Hederman. Got it.
So one thing I was going to bring up, because your little sot song run there, he does sot songs where he calls it verbal jazz. So he never has the same sot song twice. So he sort of sits down. There's no oming. There's no silence. He just sits down and he just starts talking about this dilemma that we're in, basically. And he does a lot of Ramana Maharshi, Huang Po. Have you ever heard of Huang Po?
No. Yes, I have.
Okay, yeah.
Is that Taoist?
I think it is like non-dual Buddhist. Like,
okay, I've never heard of Huang Po.
Yeah. Okay. So his deal. Huang Po has all these like one-liners that are just like beautiful little pieces of art that get the point across. He says, that I actually don't think this is him, but it's the spirit of you are what you're looking for. He says you can't use the Buddha to find the Buddha. We are the Buddha, and we're looking for the Buddha. Right?
Wonder what Huang Po said when he lost his keys.
Yeah, exactly. You can't use the Buddha to find your keys.
Yeah, you are what you're looking for. No, I'm not.
I'm looking for my
I'm trying to
keys.
start my car, Huang Po.
Yeah. His stuff is really good. I'll send you some of his too. He has all these cool double negatives that sort of point you back to, you're not going to find what you are out here. We think that we're going to find ourselves. We think that the soul, this is non-dual, like to the cleanest and clearest. We think we're going to find what we are somewhere out there. And this is the headless way too, bringing it back to Richard Lang. It's here. You can't see your eyes with your eyes. You can't know what you are because you are it. The only thing you can do is be it. Right. And that's really fucking frustrating for a lot of people because they want to find it. They want to be special. They want to know. And you just can't know, but you can be it. And you are being it all the time. There's no way of getting around that. So the one Paul little idea I wanted to get across, because you inspired it during your rant, is he says, nothing has ever happened. And I really love that because it's so presenting. It brings me right back to this moment that we believe I got pistol whipped. And on one level I did. We believe we had tragedies in our lives. We had people that we lost. But from this moment, it is an ethereal appearance in our mind that's happening here and now. And he always says that things are happening. He always says at this level, from the timeless place, there's no verb, there's no nouns, there's only verbing. He says that another thing he'll say is, this is dreaming. This isn't even a dream. That's giving it too much credit, because to say that our experience is a dream makes it a noun, makes it a concrete thing. And the moment that you make it a concrete thing, it's already past. It's already gone. It's already missed. So the fundamental best way to explain in the English language is that this is verbing. This is dreaming. And we're dreaming. And there's nowhere to hang your hat. There's no concrete place to stand, because as soon as you go to stand there, it's already gone. And one of the things he'll say every now and then in a sot song is, things are happening, but nothing ever happened. And the relief that helps me to feel when in that moment of like, nothing actually ever happened. And I'll ask myself in the same way of the death meditation, what if I were to die in 10 seconds, is I'll go, has anything happened? and I can never find anything that actually happened. I still feel the sore cheek, but from the pistol whip, but the sore cheek is happening now. And
Right.
that's another really cool place to sort of stand. Again,
Yeah.
it's not the ultimate, but it's a cool channel to turn to, of that what is happening always has been happening, always will be happening, and it's always now. This moment never started and never ended. There's one moment, and it's this moment. And it's inseparable from who we are and what we are and our nature.
Yeah, it's really easy to like sort of imagine the opposite, but you have to imagine it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
You can't really like, you can't noun like you can't actually noun if noun means like freezing things up. Thank God. I mean, if you could, a lot of people are trying to, though. They're really interested in doing that. I mean, again, it's like if you get too caught up in materialism or this idea that nouns are possible, there is singularities, like multiple singularities, or there's I guess that's the wrong word for it. There's a way to sort of put things in a container, carry them around or whatever, and you think you're that container, and once the body container's gone, you're gone, but nothing's in the container. There is no container. Regardless, this is what leads to trying to extend the human lifespan.
Yeah.
People they dream that maybe they could put their consciousness into silicone. They want to like put it into chips so that they, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think that I disagree with, or maybe misunderstand what your teacher's saying, is that there is a bit of optimism, I think, in what he's saying, in the sense that within it is this idea of ultimate freedom is now.
Yeah.
I just think humans are so good at fucking shit up.
Yeah. And we've got a long history of it.
That we might find a way
to fuck that up too.
We might find a way to actually crystallize ourselves in some medium that makes it impossible or nearly. In other words, it's like that.
Sounds like hell.
It is hell.
Sounds like the worst trip ever.
That's it. It's like you take your MEO inhibitor when you're drinking DMT through ayahuasca, and you get to extend the DMT experience by 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever it is. This is the identical thing these people want to do with the human experience. They want the trip to last longer. They're like people who like generally are realizing they're coming down. That's called getting old. And they're like, I don't want to come down, man. I want to re-up.
Give me another hit.
Yes, but they don't want, and you do get another hit, I think, but first you have to come down. It's like any other great psychedelic, you got to take a break, or it won't work anymore. But they're like, no, I don't want to take a break. Let's take more ecstasy, which, by the way, is the worst thing you can do for your brain, is to like halfway through the MDMA trip, take more MDMA. Don't do that. That's how you're really going to wreck yourself. But this is what these motherfuckers want to do with their lives. And they've got all this incredible technology trying to find a way to do that. That's the goal. Like, because it's like, if you're the richest person on earth, it's like, it has to be terrifying to if you're attached to all that wealth, to like, there's no way around the fact that once you're gone, it's like, that shit's
gone. It's ethereal.
It's gonna spread out into antique stores and auctions and end up in like people's houses that you'll never meet. And you want to keep all that stuff around you as long as you can, and you around you as long as you can. So I don't know, I think I love the optimism. I love the optimism, and he's probably right. I mean, hopefully we can't hack this shit, but I don't know, man. We've split the atom. We're pretty good at like meddling
with physics, with the laws of physics,
so they might. Don't you ever think to yourself, well, it's like that already happened. That's what we're in.
For sure, absolutely.
A time warp, like they figured it out, and then it just put us in a time warp. Like repeating our lives over and over and over again.
But to me, that doesn't solve the problem of the fact that it still is verbing. We're just in a time warp or in some sort of a cycle that there still is nowhere to stand. It still is a perpetual sort of metaphysical, spiritual current, but there still is. Let's say at base reality, Duncan is hooked up to some virtual reality or getting in Venus, some sort of cosmic psychedelic put into
Black holes.
Black holes, right? It's
up with black holes and some dark cluster of the Milky Way.
But regardless, consciousness is still verbing. It's
yeah,
still,
right.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. It's like, look, the whole goddamn thing, like you there's nouns in a book, but those nouns are meaningless until awareness comes into contact with the nouns and turns them into something.
It's a relationship.
The awareness is a verb. There's just no way around it. You're not going to crystallize, like, no matter what, you're not getting away from that what you're talking about, the awareness situation, the consciousness, the transcendent consciousness. I gotcha. Yeah, we won't fuck that up. We probably will.
If we do, it does sound like hell.
Find a way to launch a missile into it, or
into time itself,
into consciousness. I think we can break this shit.
Yeah, maybe.
Fucking break it. I think that we can do it. Here's the thing. First, we have to quantify it. I mean, it can't just be the writings of Gale. It can't just be the writings of Paul
Hederman. Don't take a shot.
It can't just be that. It's got to be quantified. Someone's going to quantify it. They're going to come up with a name for it. Some new state of matter. They're going to come up with a way to weigh it. They're going to come up with a way to like visualize it. And then they're going to come up with a way to sell it. That'll be the next phase. A way to like sell consciousness, or to like, you give you more better consciousness or flavor consciousness. They're going to do it, man. They're going to do it.
Now, I might be dumb or an optimist, but I think I think we are consciousness. And I'm using that word. I don't think there's any separating from it, because you'd be using consciousness.
I used to think we couldn't fly, baby.
It's true.
They're gonna do. I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm just saying, once, like, the good news is that, like, the stuff we're talking about is the stuff a lot of the people who work at weapons manufacturing companies tune out. Like, they don't want to hear about your consciousness.
Yeah.
So
we can't make any money off it. Yeah. We can't use it for power to control people. Yes.
Eventually they'll figure out a way just to suck all the consciousness up, put it in a little like steel ball, bury it in a desert somewhere, just get rid of that shit. Then we'll just be these like just non-aware, dying, meaty things, just fully our like whatever our identities are, we're trying to project into time.
We'll be solid nouns. We'll be unmovable nouns with no relationship to anything else.
Noun player characters.
Noun player characters. Is that an original Duncan?
Yes.
It's just in this moment.
Yes.
All right, I'll write it down.
Noun player characters. Just nouns.
And that's that. If there's any way that we are able to really, like you said, fuck this up and really like it's the demiurge, like its logical conclusion, I think you just found it.
That is it.
Yeah.
In my day, we were verbs.
Remember back when we were verbs, man?
Fucked it up for everybody. We used to be fucking verbs. Now we're nouns. God damn it.
Hey, enjoy it while you can, guys. You're still a verb. You're still verbing, I should say. See,
they're going to take your verbs away. They're going to. If the Republicans get in control, there'll be no more verbing.
Okay, this is really good.
The Court has overturned consciousness.
Damn it. They got us.
Fuck you. Damn it.
Okay, so I told you I had a lot to talk with you about, and I haven't even finished my story. We're almost at an hour. So
all right, okay, let's hear the conclusion of the story.
We'll finish.
Literally left everyone hanging. You're in the arms. I'm hoping this gets romantic.
It would be nice to say. I mean, so the good news is I'm here. So obviously, I mean, it seems on this level of reality, I'm here. So if you're listening to it on this level of reality, you know that I do survive this. Um, so I ate the handle of a gun a few times, and you froze right at the climax. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. And I was looking down the barrel of a gun, being held, being bear hugged. And in that moment, I remember thinking, this is what you practice for. I wrote a article about this. That's another thing I could get into. I started writing really heavily January this year, and I've put out about 40 articles. I'm kind of obsessed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been very rewarding. I could get behind the story of that. It's called the Laughing Stoic Buddha newsletter. You guys can check it out on Substack. And I wrote an article called Mortality's Pop Quiz, which this was a pop quiz. I didn't know that the test was coming on this date after seeing Duncan in the city and coming home at 2 a.m. But it was a pop quiz. And I remember looking at the barrel and going, this is it. This is what you study for. This is why you practice. And it could be it. It could be over.
Wow.
And I remember feeling sad and how much of a shame it was. What was in the front of my mind that my daughters were going to grow up without a dad. I have 2 daughters, 8 and 5. They're gonna next month going to be turning 9 and 6, and they're the most important thing in my world, in my meat suit story go world is my daughters. They're my everything. They're the drive of so much of what I do, almost everything that I do, basically. And I remember thinking, man, they're going to grow up without a dad, and how much of a shame it was for nothing, for some keys and a wallet. My daughter's going to grow up without a dad, and feeling really, really sad about that. And very sort of flashed through my mind all the other things I had expected, like you said, that I had more time in the bank.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought it was not in the front of my mind, but it was in there. I want a podcast with Duncan Trussell. I want a podcast with Pete. I swear to God, I just seen you that night. It was in the front of my mind, obviously. Right. I want a podcast with Pete Holmes. I want to talk. I have this list. I have a never ending list. There's like 50 people on there that I want to talk to, because I love this art form and I want to connect with people and I want to participate in the dialogos of our culture and where all this is going. And
but you thought of your daughters first.
Of course, and they were a huge piece of.
How's that supposed to make me feel?
Sorry, man.
Just kidding. Sorry.
you just turn off that's it. I'm out of here. I'm not even as important as your daughters. Storm off. Yeah, and it's interesting, actually. Speaking about writing, the reason I started writing, it's something that had called to me for a really long time. I remember when my ex was pregnant with my first daughter. So she's about to be 9. So this was 9 years ago, right around the time I first found you. And I remember watching Sons of Anarchy. Have you ever seen that show?
Sure.
Yeah. It's a motorcycle gang show. And the main character in that show, his dad died when he was young. And he left. Yeah, and he left him writings, and the show opens with him reading the writings of his father. I remember that calling to me of like something deep in my soul of like, you're gonna have to write something for your daughters. Kind of like there's no getting around this, you know. And it sort of came in, and I sort of, I'll get to it. And I pushed it off for years. And I'm not a very good writer. I grew up in a cult. We don't have time to get into all that.
Oh.
What's up?
Which cult?
SRF, Spiritual Rights Foundation, in Berkeley, California. It was a charismatic leader that was molesting and terrible shit.
That sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks. And I was homeschooled. So, and I think I was diagnosed with dyslexia. It took me a very long time to learn how to read and write. So I'm not the best writer. And I still, even on my newsletters, people tell me like, hey, maybe you should get a get an editor or something, or a spell checker.
Grammarly.
What's that? Grammarly. I mean, you're like the third person to tell me that I need to get Grammarly.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay. I'm getting it today.
Writes for you.
I'm getting it today.
Use offer code Paul Hederman.
20% added to your
Well, per noun.
for now. Yeah, no nouns. With the use the Paul Hederman code, you can only use verbs. Very good. So this is something that's been calling to me, and I took a good amount of years off of psychedelics, and a few years back, about 4 years ago, I started doing mushrooms again. Mushrooms have always been my best teacher, and when I would do it, it would tell me, you need to start writing. There's no fucking getting around this. And this is something that I'm not the kind of person that I get an idea and I start doing it right away. I tend to, like, something comes in, I say, yeah, I'll get to it. And then if it's still sticking around years and years later, I'm like, okay, no, it's stuck.
Listen, nobody's a good writer, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of good revisers out there. There's a lot of good people that you can evolve what you write. No one's a good writer.
Beautiful,
What was
man.
it?
Very
What was
nice.
it? Hemingway said the first draft of everything is shit.
Everything is shit. Yep. Exactly.
It's like everyone writes, but you know, it's a natural thing, because it's like when you're reading a book, you're not thinking that you're like reading something that's gone through not just like multiple revisions, but multiple editors, like so
Yeah.
many different people have, like, by the time it gets to your eyes, it's gone through so many like different evolutionary processes.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, you can't be a good, I don't think I'm convinced that no one is a good writer.
I agree.
And a bad writer is actually a bad reviser. It's just somebody who didn't want to go through the hell of, number one, realizing you're a shitty writer, which is just the truth. And because you have to be. And number two, like, realizing you got to fix that. You got to fix that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like turning your vomit into like into a painting. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you have to. It's so yeah. I've never heard of. I know a lot of people who will like write some shit down, and then like post it, and like most people are like, that sucks.
Yeah.
But like, it doesn't suck because they're a bad writer. It just sucks because it's like you needed to work with it a little bit more. You know.
Yeah, and writing's particularly difficult for people because we compare our first drafts to, like you said, other people's third, fourth, other eyes have been on it. It's been revised and all that. So we open up a book and we read and we go, well, that's how my first draft should sound. And we're just setting ourselves up for like a terrible experience.
If only, God, can you imagine? I mean, that's an infuriating thing about Jack Kerouac's On the Road story is it's like, he wrote the whole thing in like 2 nights on speed or something.
Yeah, there's a few geniuses out there.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's possible, but you can win Powerball too. Probably easier to win Powerball
than to be a Jack Kerouac. Yeah.
Get out on the road and wonderful manic speed days.
Yeah, it's as I've been doing it more. I've been very dedicated for the last almost year. I realized that I get even less out of the more I write. So when I first started, if I wrote 1,000 words, I'd get like 800 words out of it. I'd trim a few.
Not bad.
Not bad. Well, actually bad because I was putting bad products out there. Now when I write 1,000 words, I get like 300 words out of it.
Yeah,
by my final. Yeah.
That's
And
bad fucking ratio, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's just
Bad ratio.
that's the grueling of
They ask you for that word count when you get like a job. It's like multiply that by a lot of words.
Exactly. To get good words out.
Listen, wrap up the story, man. I want to hear. I'm so sorry. I'm like sending us off on these fucking tangents. Bear hug. You've
barrel the gun.
You're experiencing your life flashing before your eyes, realizing all these things that you might not be able to do.
Yeah. And one of the things that gave me peace was the reason that I write is everything's for my daughters. I post it for the world to see and to read and to interact with. And I've had a lot of good feedback that it's helped people. People have told me it's changed their lives. It's beautiful. It's unimaginable, when I started this process. But it's all for them. And in that moment, I was looking in the barrel of the gun. I thought, your daughters can find your writing. and they're going to have a piece of you, like
Wow.
you're saying. Yeah. And like you're saying, we want to hold on to material and this and that, and it's all going to end up in antique stores and such. That's what I wanted to pass along in this incarnation, if anything, was the best wisdom and the best guidance that I can get. Bruce Lee's big in my life too, and his daughter found his writings in both published and private, and kind of lived her life based on that, Sharon Lee. And that actually all the work I put in to write is something that gave me peace in that pain of the fact that I wasn't going to be there with them. And I remember feeling at peace. Like the lights could go out. I could hear kind of the shot of the gun, and lights could go out for Nick, and it's okay. So I heard one of the guys say, "Oh shit, the cops." And I seen the lights of a cop car. And the guy that was holding me threw me against a chain link fence.
Unnecessary.
Unnecessary. Well, here's the most unnecessary. This really gets me on that level of unnecessariness. One of my shoes fell off. And even though they were running from the cops, the guy picked up my shoe and threw it over the fence so I couldn't get it. So I had one shoe.
It's like some old Oakland mugger trick. That sounds like some shit they pass around in mugger bars. Don't forget to throw the shoe over the fence.
It's not a real mugging if you didn't throw the shoe.
The broken glass everywhere. It'll cut their feet if they try to chase you. Don't do the shoe throw. Did you throw the shoe?
You did. Oh, good work. Good work, Lenny. So
how many shoes were behind that fence? Did you look to see if that was like their spot?
I wasn't looking. Just the one that I know was mine.
You know what? Not to get like too detailed about it, but I don't know how powerful a Glock is. But I think one source of comfort that might have popped into my head is if that guy shoots me in the head, he's shooting his friend in the chest, right? Like,
of course. Well, and I didn't think that through. When I think back on it, I imagine them dropping me and him doing execution style with me on my hands or knees or whatever. Obviously, yes, it would have gone through him and hit his friend.
You're right.
Yeah.
His friend, it's like, put him down.
Yeah. So I'm on my hands and knees. I saw blood dripping down onto the sidewalk. I luckily, thank God, these glasses here fell off, untouched, unscratched, unbroken.
There you go.
Looked around, I found my little gift from the universe, found my glasses, put them on, and I was messed up. This is pretty cool, actually. This is in the article I wrote. I reached down into my pockets to see because I wanted to find my keys to try to get into my house. Keys weren't there, but they left one thing in my pocket. Now, this is too poetic to believe. I carry around this coin here. If you can see it, it says momentum.
No
momentum.
way.
Swear to God. So this is from Ryan Holiday, who is another big mentor in my life. I'm part of a program. I talk with him regularly. I've read all of his books many times. He's a writer on Stoicism. As I bought this from him from his website, and it says on the back here, you could leave life right now. So memento mori is Latin for remember that you will die.
Cool.
And I reached in my pocket, I found this, and I actually laughed.
Yeah.
In the middle of all that, blood dripping down my nose, in the streets of Oakland with no keys, no car, I'm still in the elements. It
saved your life, man. Let's think about it. If you had not maintained calm, if you had not done your practice, and you'd freaked the fuck out, as many would have.
Yeah.
It might have been what pushed that guy over the edge.
It's very true. It's a good story to tell.
And you might have passed a big test. That might be something, if we are looping, that might be the fork in the road for you there, which is like if you, in infinite other iterations of that event, you freak out, you try to fight back, you try to like whatever, and he uses lethal force, and then you start over and again and again and again. But this time you did it.
I love that interpretation.
Maybe you're on the next level of the simulator. Maybe it's like there were two possibilities at that point. You could have gone back, started over again, or you're here now.
I love that interpretation. I'm going to
Verb.
take verbing, man. It's a whole new verbing. I remember thinking, I didn't beg for my life. It kind of surprised me that I didn't say, please, I have daughters, please don't kill me. It didn't come to my mind. I remained calm enough through it. So the rest is just sort of details. I seen a cop car. I had one shoe. I sprinted after it. I flagged them down. I gave a police report. I tried calling a few people. I only had a few numbers memorized. Nobody picked up, and he ended up driving me to a friend's house. And I walked with my one shoe into my friend's house. I knocked on his door, afraid that he would think that I was, we're still in Oakland. And I said, "It's Nick, please open up." My friend let me in. My very good friend, Willie Ramos. I went in, cleaned up the blood. I borrowed his phone and I started calling. It was my work phone, so I called and got my boss and got my work phone canceled. Canceled all my cards, and went to sleep that night. And then started the rebuilding process.
And it's all my fucking fault because I did a comedy show in San Francisco.
I wasn't gonna say it, but
the end.
The next day, I wrote you an email.
Well, I'm sorry you got mugged.
Thank you, man.
Obviously, and I'm not making light of that. I'm glad that you found a way to work with it and that
Alchemize it.
Yeah, because that's I hope I don't seem like I've been making light of.
No, it's beautiful, bro. It's very beautiful. You actually gave me a great gift running it through the frame of it being a computer game in which I passed that level. Because
you did. It is, and I've found that there is in the sense of humor of the universe, the cosmic giggle, that it does have kind of like a dad. It does dad jokes.
I agree.
That's cheesy. The coin in the pocket, like you put that in this. You put that in
Too
the
obvious.
script.
Yeah,
it's not going to get past the writer's room. Like people are like, nah.
No. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Look at the coin. That's too. And he laughs. Come on, we really going to do that? It's kind of hacky. Like,
yeah.
Part of whatever's verbing this thing that we're in, it has that kind of sense of humor. And any synchronicities that I've noticed that are epic, they always have within them that flavor of like silliness.
Yeah.
It isn't what you would call sophisticated. It's just like silly and
cheesy,
like,
silly. Yeah.
And that's how I, anytime something like that happens, I always make a mental note because it's like, I do think, okay, that was like a sign. That's a token. That's a sign that you have achieved. You might never know what, but that you have achieved something or pushed through something or evolved in some way that you get a little like, it's like when the slot machine dings.
Yeah.
Keep putting those fucking quarters in.
Yeah.
But I don't mean to end on a slot machine reference with an incredible story, but I guess I did. And speaking of kids, I got to go be with mine. It's been a joy chatting with you. You gave me a lot to think about. It's very
right on, man.
We'll do part 2, and then we can talk more about Paul Hederman.
We can talk about Paul. I have so many questions for you, man. I've listened to you for many years. I want to hear your backstory on Ram Dass. I never heard how you met him, and so I would love to do a part 2 where we get into your story.
I'll tell you that story. It's a fun story. I can't wait. I'll have Nicole set it up in a few months. Very nice to meet you.
Hare Krishna.
Bibeau.
God bless you.
Bless you. I'm glad you're happy and healthy and have found a safer place to live.
Thank you for making my dreams come true, Duncan.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching or listening all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this conversation, please hit the like button. If you want to hear more conversations like this in the future, hit the subscribe button and you will be notified when my next podcast comes out. But what I would really like for you to do is to check out my Substack, where I write 2 articles a week, one on Monday and one on Friday. You can subscribe to that newsletter. Every Monday, we send out a Stoic-leaning article, and every Friday, a Buddhist-leaning article to continue this Laughing Stoic Buddha project. Thank you guys again so much for your time and for your attention, and I will see you on the next one.